September 1956, the Sands Hotel, Las Vegas. Frank Sinatra was having dinner in the garden room when he caught something odd out of the corner of his eye. Every single night, Nat King Cole stepped on that stage and shut the place down with sold-out crowds at the Sands. The smoothest voice in America, pulling in $4,500 a week, lights blazing with his name on the marquee. But here's the twist. Nat never ate in the restaurant, never sat in the dining room. He always had his meals backstage, alone in his dressing room. Frank finally asked his valet, a black man named George, "Why doesn't Nat ever eat here?" George answered him straight. 4 cold words. Colored people aren't allowed. Those words hit Frank like a punch to the chest. What he did in the next 24 hours didn't just shake the Sands. It flipped Las Vegas on its head. Nat King Cole was born Nathaniel Adams Coles in Montgomery, Alabama in 1919. By 1956, he wasn't just famous. He was a global sensation. Unforgettable. Mona Lisa, the Christmas song. His voice was pure velvet, smooth and rich, and when he touched the piano, it was magic. He sold millions of records, had his own television show, and fans everywhere adored him. But in 1956 America, none of that shielded you from racism if you were black. Fame didn't cancel out discrimination. Talent didn't open every door. That was the brutal reality. Las Vegas in the 1950s had bright lights and dark rules. Black entertainers could headline shows, pack out showrooms with white audiences paying top dollar, and make casinos stacks of cash. But they couldn't stay in the same hotels where they performed, couldn't eat in the restaurants, couldn't swim in the pools, couldn't even walk through the front entrance like everyone else. People called it the Mississippi of the West, and that wasn't a compliment. The city loved the music, loved the money, but drew a hard line when the spotlight turned off. Nat performed at the Sands regularly. He was the headliner, his name glowing in neon, every show sold out. But when the curtain dropped, the rules snapped back into place. Nat had to leave through the kitchen like he was invisible. He stayed at a boarding house on the west side, the segregated part of town where black families were pushed to live. His white manager slept comfortably at the Sands. Nat, the star bringing in the crowd, got nothing. The hotel allowed him to use his dressing room and a small space behind the kitchen where many of the black staff took their breaks. That was the limit. The casino floor, off limits. The pool, off limits. The main lobby, forget about it. Nat didn't complain in public. He couldn't afford to. Speaking out could cost him contracts, shows, and income. And losing income meant risking his family's security. So he did what he had to do. He smiled on stage, delivered flawless performances, collected his check, and then ate dinner alone in that dressing room night after night. Imagine being the main attraction and still being treated like you don't belong. That's cold. Frank Sinatra was also performing at the Sands in September 1956. He wasn't just another act, he was the act. He headlined, and he even owned a piece of the casino. That gave him real leverage, not just celebrity shine. Frank and Nat were friends. They recorded together. They respected each other's craft. But Frank didn't know the full story about how Nat was being treated at the Sands. Nat never spelled it out, and Frank, wrapped up in his own shows and fast-moving life, hadn't connected the dots yet. Then came that night in the garden room. The place was classy, packed with high rollers, stars, and big spenders. Crystal glasses, white tablecloths, the whole glamorous Vegas vibe. Frank looked around and realized something that suddenly didn't sit right. Nat performed there all the time, dozens of shows every year, but Frank had never once seen him sitting at a table in that restaurant. Not once. That wasn't a coincidence. That was a pattern. After dinner, Frank called over his valet, George Jacobs, a black man who had worked beside him for years. George wasn't just staff. He was someone Frank trusted, someone who told him the truth, no filter. Frank leaned in and said, George, can I ask you something? The question sounded simple, but the answer was about to change everything. Of course, boss. Frank didn't waste time. Nat King Cole. He performs here all the time, but I've never seen him eat in the garden room. Why is that? George went still. You could feel the weight in the room. Mr. Sinatra, I don't think... George, Frank cut in, sharper now. Why doesn't Nat eat in the restaurant? George looked him straight in the eye, no dancing around it. Because colored people aren't allowed in the dining room at the Sands. Frank froze. What? Black performers can perform, George said steady. But they can't eat in the restaurant, can't stay in the hotel, can't use the casino. That's the rule. Frank's face turned red. That's the rule? Nat King Cole fills this showroom every night, makes this casino a fortune, and they won't let him eat in the restaurant? Yes, sir. Where does he eat? In his dressing room, alone. They bring him food from the kitchen. That did it. Frank shot up from his chair. Who enforces this rule? The restaurant manager, Mr. Davidson, and hotel management. Fine, Davidson. Now, bring him to my suite. 30 minutes later, James Davidson stood stiff as a board in Frank's suite. Middle-aged Vegas veteran, 20 years in the game. He knew the system. He knew the silent codes. He also knew Sinatra wasn't someone you ignored. Mr. Sinatra, you wanted to see me? Frank didn't smile. Yeah, I want to understand something. Nat King Cole. Why isn't he allowed in the garden room? Davidson shifted. Mr. Sinatra, it's hotel policy. We don't allow Negroes in the dining room. It's not personal, it's just policy. Frank's jaw tightened. You keep saying policy. Whose policy? The hotels, the casinos. It's always been this way. Frank's voice dropped low, calm, dangerous. So Nat King Cole can stand on that stage and make you rich, but he can't sit in a chair and eat a steak? Mr. Sinatra, I don't make the rules. But you enforce them, Frank snapped. Every night you see Nat walk in. You see him go straight to his dressing room. You see food brought to him like he's locked away. And you think that's acceptable? It's not about what I think. It's about, here's what I think, Frank cut in. I think that policy ends tonight, right now. You understand me? Davidson went pale. Mr. Sinatra, I can't just... Yes, you can, and here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow night, I'm inviting Nat King Cole to dinner in the garden room. He's sitting at my table. He's ordering whatever he wants, and you're going to treat him like the artist he is, like the human being he is. The other guests, Davidson tried, they'll deal with it, and if they don't, if anyone says one word, if any waiter refuses to serve him, if any manager tries to block him, you're all fired, every single one of you. I'll make sure you never work in this town again. Davidson's mouth opened, then shut. Mr. Sinatra, I don't have the authority. Then get someone who does. I want the hotel manager here, now. Within the hour, the hotel manager arrived, suit pressed, nerves showing. Frank repeated every word. Same message, same pressure, no backing down. The manager tried to reason it out, said other hotels would be upset, said it would cause problems on the Strip, said the casino owners wouldn't like the attention. Frank didn't blink. I own 9% of this casino, he said flat. I bring in more money than anyone in this building. And I'm telling you, Nat King Cole eats in that restaurant tomorrow, or I walk, and I take every headliner I know with me. You'll be empty by the weekend. That wasn't a bluff. Everyone in that room knew it. Mr. Sinatra, the manager said carefully, if we do this, it changes everything. When you do this, Frank corrected him. And good. It should change. This is 1956. We just fought a war for freedom. And you're telling me the man with the most beautiful voice in America can't eat in a restaurant? That's not policy, that's racism, and I won't be part of it. The room went quiet. Decision made. The next evening, Frank picked up the phone and called Nat. "Hey, Nat, you doing anything for dinner tomorrow?" Nat sounded cautious. "Not particularly. Why?" "I want to take you to dinner. Garden room at the Sands, 8 o'clock. You available?" Silence. Then, soft and careful. "Frank, you know I can't eat there." "You can tomorrow. Trust me." Another pause. "Frank, what did you do?" "Nothing yet, but tomorrow you're eating in that restaurant as my guest. Will you come?" Nat's voice shifted. You could hear the emotion in it. "You're serious?" "Dead serious." "Frank, if this goes wrong..." "It won't," Frank said firm. "Be there at 8. And just like that, the line was drawn. Wear something nice. September 18th, 1956, 8 p.m. sharp. Nat King Cole walked through the front entrance of the Sands Hotel for the first time in his career. Not the kitchen, not the side door, the front door. Head up, suit sharp, calm on the outside even if his heart was racing. He stepped across the casino floor, past the ringing slot machines, past the crowded card tables. Chips stacked high, cigarette smoke hanging in the air. Conversations slowed down. People stared. Some whispered. A black man walking through the casino like he belonged there. Because he did. Nat reached the garden room. The maitre d', already briefed by Frank, kept it smooth and professional. "Mr. Cole, Mr. Sinatra is expecting you." No hesitation, no attitude, just respect. Frank stood the moment Nat walked in. Front and center table. The best seat in the house. He reached out his hand. "Glad you could make it." Nat shook it and sat down. He scanned the room. Every single person was watching. Some curious, some tense, some looking like they couldn't believe what they were seeing. The air felt tight. Frank leaned back and raised his voice just enough for nearby tables to catch it. "Nat, what are you drinking? Order whatever you want. Tonight you're my guest, and anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with me." Silence. No one said a word. Dinner started. Frank ordered steak. Nat ordered chicken. Simple, normal. That was the point. They talked about music, about studio sessions, about family stories, about life on the road. Anything but the tension floating around them. The waiters did their jobs, polite and careful, because Frank had already made it clear, any disrespect, and you're done in this town. Plates came and went, glasses refilled, conversations in the room slowly picked back up. The world didn't end. The ceiling didn't collapse. Two men just had dinner like they should have been able to all along. When it was over, Frank stood. Nat stood with him. And together, they walked out. Through the restaurant, through the casino, straight out the front door. Outside, under the Vegas lights, Nat stopped. The noise from inside faded behind them. "Frank, do you understand what you just did?" Frank didn't hesitate. "I know exactly what I did. You broke the color line at the Sands." "Good," Frank said. "It needed breaking." Nat's eyes filled up. He tried to hold it together. "Nobody's ever done something like this for me. Nobody." Frank put a hand on his shoulder. Solid, steady. "You're my friend. You're a brilliant artist. You deserve dignity. That's not radical. That's basic decency." The next morning, the story exploded across Las Vegas. Word moved fast on the Strip. Frank Sinatra had integrated the Sands. He brought Nat King Cole into the garden room. He made it clear that anyone who objected could pack their bags. That kind of move shook the whole city. Other hotel owners paid attention. If the Sands allowed black performers to dine, to stay, to be treated equally, then the pressure was on. Because if they didn't change, they risked losing their biggest stars. Within 6 months, most major Vegas hotels quietly adjusted their policies, not because their hearts suddenly changed, because their wallets felt the heat. Frank didn't just challenge segregation, he made it bad for business. Nat never forgot that night, ever. Years later, people would ask him about Frank, and he would tell that story. In 1965, Nat was battling lung cancer. Frank went to see him in the hospital. They talked for hours. "You know what I'll always remember," Nat said, "that night at the Sands, when you made them see me as a person." "You were always a person, Nat," Frank replied. "Some people just needed reminding." Nat King Cole passed away on February 15, 1965. He was only 45 years old, gone way too soon. At his funeral, Frank spoke. Nat was a genius, but more than that, he was dignified. He faced insults that would have crushed most people, and he never let it turn him bitter. He kept his grace. That's courage, real courage. Decades later, in 1998, when Frank died, Nat's daughter, Natalie Cole, talked about their bond. "My father faced racism every day of his career," she said. "Restaurants that wouldn't serve him, places that shut him out. But Frank Sinatra said no more. Not because it was easy, because it was right, because he believed my father deserved dignity." That one dinner at the Sands didn't just change a seating chart, it changed Las Vegas. It shifted how black performers were treated. It cracked open a door that had been locked for too long. There's a plaque where the old Sands once stood. It reads, "On this site, September 18, 1956, Frank Sinatra and Nat King Cole broke the color barrier in Las Vegas dining. Their friendship and courage helped end segregation in the city's hotels and casinos." Frank once learned that Nat King Cole was banned from eating in the same restaurant he filled every night. What happened next shocked Vegas. Not because it was complicated, because it was simple. "This ends now," Frank said. And because he had power and actually used it, it did. That's the difference between having influence and stepping up. Frank could have looked away. He didn't. The impact of that night didn't fade when the headlines cooled down. It moved quietly, table by table, contract by contract, across the Strip. Performers started talking. Musicians whispered backstage. If Nat could walk through the front door at the Sands, why not everywhere else? Why should any artist bring in crowds and still sneak out the back? The old rules suddenly looked weak, outdated, embarrassing. Club owners felt the pressure. Big stars had leverage, and they saw what Frank did. Some began adding quiet demands to their contracts: equal access, proper accommodations, respect. They didn't always make speeches about it. They just made it clear behind closed doors, and money talks in Las Vegas louder than anything. The Sands tried to play it smooth, acting like it was no big deal, but everyone knew it was a big deal. High rollers noticed. Reporters heard the buzz. Competitor casinos watched closely. No one wanted to be the last place stuck in the past. Nat kept performing, smoother than ever. But something had shifted. He didn't walk through side doors anymore. He didn't eat alone backstage. He moved with a quiet confidence that said, "I belong here," because he did. That doesn't mean the struggle vanished overnight. Racism didn't magically disappear. There were still ugly moments, still resistance, still people who didn't want change. But the line had been crossed. And once a line like that is crossed in public, in front of witnesses, it's hard to redraw it. Frank never bragged about it. He didn't run around telling the story like he wanted applause. If someone asked, he kept it simple. It was wrong, so we fixed it. That was his style. Direct. No long speeches, just action. And that's what made it powerful. It wasn't a publicity stunt. It wasn't a headline grab. It was one man using his influence at the exact right moment. Years later, Vegas would polish its image. Bright lights, big shows, unity. But under all that shine was a turning point most people never saw coming. Two men sitting at a dinner table. One invitation, one decision. Sometimes history doesn't explode. Sometimes it walks calmly through the front door at 8 p.m., takes a seat, orders dinner, and refuses to move. That night at the Sands wasn't just about dinner. It was about respect. It was about a man who had the spotlight and decided to use it for something bigger than applause. Frank could have stayed quiet. He could have enjoyed his steak and minded his business, but he didn't. He saw something wrong and he stepped in when it counted. And Nat? He showed a different kind of strength. Quiet strength. The kind that keeps showing up, keeps performing, keeps shining even when the system tries to dim your light. He didn't beg for a seat at the table. He earned it 1,000 times over. That walk through the front door wasn't loud. It was powerful. Vegas didn't change because it suddenly grew a conscience. It changed because power shifted. When influence meets courage, walls start cracking. That's the lesson. Change doesn't always start with a crowd. Sometimes it starts with one bold move in a room full of silence. Think about that. How many moments in history flipped because somebody said, "No more? Not next year? Not someday? Now." That's what separates talk from action. That's what separates fame from legacy. The friendship between Frank Sinatra and Nat King Cole proved something real. Respect isn't complicated. It's not political. It's human. And when people in powerful positions choose fairness over comfort, the ripple effect is massive. So next time you hear unforgettable or see old footage of the Rat Pack in Vegas, remember this story. Remember that behind the music and the lights was a line that got crossed for the right reason. History isn't just made on stages. Sometimes it's made at a dinner table. If this story hit you, make sure you like this video so more people can hear it. Drop a comment and tell me what you think. Would you have had the courage to make that move in 1956? And if you want more powerful stories like this, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We've got more moments from history that will surprise you, shake you, and maybe even inspire you. I'll see you in the next video.